So you don't charm the devil with your rock and roll load. Knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The devil finds his groove in them rhythm and blues that sing. It's gonna get you sun in the air.
Welcome back to the Speakeasy. I'm Damon Bolte.
And I'm Greg Benson. And Damon, we survived Bar Convent Brooklyn since the last time. Well, two-thirds of us did. Souther, unfortunately, didn't make it. He's dead. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. He's just sick. He just has a cold. I couldn't read my notes for a second there, but he's okay. He just lost his voice.
You know, I did too, but it just kind of sounds the same way as it usually does.
Well, yeah, I noticed this when I was sitting next to you during our 600th episode live spectacular that we did at Fort Hamilton, thanks to the wonderful hospitality of Alex, Amy, Sarah, Miles, all the other people over there that made that possible. Much love to them.
Amazing place.
Yeah, your voice does have a very sort of like gravelly nature, so I imagine as it starts to go, that's kind of when it reaches like peak Damon.
Yeah, that's when I go to the recording studio and start laying down vocal tracks for some songs or like write something around it, you know. But you got to catch that lightning in a bottle because it doesn't happen too often. Because I just don't get out that much like I used to and party that much like I did at BCB. And really, it wasn't so much the partying as it was just talking and seeing everyone and, you know, not really sleeping because my birthday was the day before. And so I had to get to the airport and leave the house at 3 a.m. And I just never caught up on sleep the whole week. So whenever I got back, I spent about 36 hours in bed. I woke up for a couple hours to go to my niece's four-year birthday party, which was super cute. But I could only stay for like an hour or so. And otherwise just sleeping. I'm just out of practice with the New York pace, but I did get to go off-site from the gigantic BCB Industry City shenanigans. And, went to Keen's, went to Dante, went to Balthazar twice, hit some classic spots. So that was cool. And didn't go hat shopping or guitar shopping, just went to
you were busy.
Restaurants and bars, So, but yeah, man, how was yours?
It was great. And like you said, it's like I didn't spend the whole time on campus. Although every year when I go to Industry City, there's always like, I like it because I feel like it's grown more into itself. I'm on the road. I had to immediately afterwards hop on a plane out to the Golden State. So I'm on the other end, the southern end of the state from you right now, Damon. I was doing a residency with the good folks at Kuyama Buckhorn, which is about 2 to 3 hours north of LA, depending on how long it takes you to get out of Los Angeles in the first place.
Right.
But amazing spot. It's kind of like if a farm to table restaurant and a roadside motel from the 1960s had a baby. Wonderful, wonderful place. Great people. So I was their bartender in residence this past weekend. So I haven't had a chance to slow down yet. I'm sure I'm going to just completely fall apart like a NASCAR car rolling over itself when I finally get a chance to stop.
Yeah.
But I'm out here in LA and I went to Cato and Pizzeria Bianco last night.
Nice.
And that is also in a similar space next to, kind of in the same style as Industry City, where it's a bunch of, I think it was like garment warehouses that are now sort of being repurposed as like mixed use. You've got a lot of obviously really cool businesses coming in there. And it kind of was weird to be like, oh, this is what Industry City was like 10 years ago, you know? Like 10 years ago, you'd kind of walk around and be like, oh, geez, there aren't a lot of people here. And like, I see the concept and it's a good concept, but like, I wonder if it'll take off. Nothing against the businesses there. Everyone who works at these places that I went to last night is solid as a rock. But it's cool to see how every time I go back to Industry City, this BCB included, it's managed to knit itself into both the fabric of the neighborhood and the community and also the city as a whole. So
sure.
I also got off campus a lot. I also had a couple nights where I was up till 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And looking forward to getting some sleep whenever I can, because I'm in my mid late 30s now, Damon. And
sure.
And I'm not the spring chicken that I used to be, but
I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, we didn't get to. We could have maybe gotten some of that energy from Dolph Lundgren had he not had to reschedule the show last minute. But I don't know.
Well, we
if
did,
he's-
but then we got to talk more with Alex Clark, who I didn't. There was so
Which-
much of that dude. Every time I meet
I
that
know.
guy, he's like, I feel like like one of these times I'm going to meet him. He was like, "Oh yeah, no, I was totally a CIA operative during Iran Contra.
Sure.
Like I was trying to break it
Exactly.
down from the inside. Like, haven't I told you that?" Because he like has such a weird, crazy resume and backstory. And every time I talk to him, I'm like, "Wait, what?" And he's like, "Yeah, didn't I tell you that?" And I'm like, "No." So I enjoyed more time to mine the gift that keeps on giving. That is the history of Alex Clark. That was very fun.
Well, it's our guest who's on the show today. Before we went on air, we were talking a little bit about celebrity brands, and it's one thing with so many brands that are celebrity owned these days. It's like kind of behoove them to show up to at least BCB and Tails, because if there's that big of a presence in the booze industry, it's like you can only sell so much with your celebrity name. But it's the people who actually move your product, especially bartenders, that are your unpaid ambassadors, So, and it's not like, these events are actually, I would say that the like consumer enthusiast percentage is probably so low that I don't know. I would like to see the metrics on that, but you got to realize, I think that some of these celebrities that own brands might think that they're going to get mobbed by super fans at these things where there's a lot of people around, and that may be, but my instinct with a bunch of bartenders and professionals that like, especially people coming from satellite cities like like LA and New York and we're used to seeing celebrities all the time, and we've befriended
We're
a lot
pretty
of them.
famous people, is what Damon's trying to say.
Right.
We don't let it go to our head, but we're pretty cool.
But like we're not like, hey, can I take a picture with you? Like we're there like as bar owners and servers and bartenders and managers. It's like we know that they're there to just feel like a normal person and have dinner and have some drinks and not be accosted. We're actually not that I mean, when Jay-Z and Beyonce come over, they have their own security detail. It looks like it's very presidential. It's like the Secret Service. But you know what? They don't even really need that, because people know either like, let's not fuck with them. But also the staff is already just like, we got to protect them, So I think you're in a good place. All I'm saying is the celebrity world of spirits, entrepreneurs, you're in a good place when you come to these shows. I don't think as many people are going to mess with you as you think. You might actually be bummed out.
Totally. Well, and also, I just want to say real quick about Jay-Z and Beyonce. It's like, I think people, especially in our world, because we're just the smartest, best people, but like people know not to fuck with Jay-Z and Beyonce. One, because Jay-Z will kick your ass, but even worse, Beyonce will write a multi-platinum album that's going to win a shitload of Grammys about what an asshole you are. So just don't try it. Just don't try it. Just be cool, man. Just be cool. But speaking of people who cool. Have, of being cool, and people who have big backstories and maybe a really intense security detail. I don't know. We didn't cover that one in the pre-show, but in the studio today, we have Marcelo Chasi from Herradura Tequila. Marcelo, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you, man.
How you doing, Damon? How you doing, Greg? It's such a pleasure to be here. You and Sutter too were part of like my inspiration of my entire career. So it's truly an honor to be here.
Man.
Thank you.
Dude. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much, man. And what a career it is. I mean, you're now with Herradura, but the background sheet that you sent around to us about just kind of like when we bring guests on the show, just to give people a little peek behind the curtain about how the sausage is made, we send around a little ask that includes, send us a brief bio so we can get to know you a little bit. Yours had a ton of details. You're born in Ecuador. You joined the Army at age 28. You are a huge fan of Hawaiian shirts. You are a footballer. So kind of give us the highlights of the Marcelo Chasi. Give us the teaser trailer dancer, for your,
of course,
and a salsa dancer. I knew there was something else in there.
I'm getting better at that, like trying the cumbia nowadays, But all right, so yes, I'm from Ecuador. I came to the States when I was 18 years old. Worked my way out, my way up. So I started working in a Burger King, and that's where my journey started. Basically, I was there as a dishwasher and flipping burgers. I couldn't speak the language, and little by little, I was getting, I started listening to music, to English movies and everything. I started reading because I wanted to be not only a burger flipper or a dishwasher, but also, to me, my immediate goal was to be just a counter, be in the counter and talking to people. After that, I was very lucky to, it's not kosher, but I made a fake resume to enter in a 3-star restaurant back then. It was called
Nice.
Crew by the chef Shea Galante a long time ago, where I started learning. I started from a busboy, then after that I became a runner. I was able to work with like very good chefs like John George in many different positions. Also Tom Colicchio. So after that I went to culinary school. So I'm very happy to say that I had every position as many owners, right? I'm not an owner yet, but as many restaurant owners, you have to be a dishwasher and a general manager and be everything in between to understand truly what this industry is all about. Well, then after that, again, my first passion is the kitchen, so I went to the French Culinary Institute. I was cooking for a little bit, and then the finances hit. I had my first kid, and I had to go back and be a bartender. But I wasn't a bartender yet, so being a captain a craft, then I asked to be a bartender for Osteria Morini back there for Michael White. They were like, "Well, you don't have the experience, right? So let's start you off as a barback," which I did. I paid my dues. I was a barback for 6 months. And then after that, I was a lunch bartender for another 6 months until I was lucky enough to, one friend of mine, you probably know him, Rafael Reyes, gave me a chance
Oh
to be
yeah.
in a very good team when he did 21 grams. Then,
Right.
then after a little bit, also, I was lucky enough to have an interview for Julie Reiner's Flat Iron Lounge, and KJ Williams, which is still, I consider my mentor, and I thank him for everything, had enough patience to guide me through the cocktail bars and taught me a lot. And a lot of what I am right now is thanks to KJ Williams.
He's a great guy,
Yeah,
and I think that might have.
he's an incredible mentor.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I'm still in touch with him all the time. I'm sad I didn't get to see him last week, but yeah, as far as a mentor goes, you couldn't have asked for a better one. Also,
Exactly. So
I think that might have been where we met back in the day.
back in the day, yes,
Yeah,
at
yeah,
Flat Iron
exactly.
Lounge.
Yeah.
So then after that, I was there. I worked for 4 years and a half at Flat Iron Lounge, and then I moved to different spots until I hit a place on my life that I thought that I was, pardon my vocabulary, but I was the shit. So I was extremely conceited. I became a horrible person, and then is when I was like, you know what? I'm a piece of shit, and I need a humbling lesson. So I joined the army, which everybody was like, why
Wow.
would you do that? So yeah, late I joined the army, and oh, it was definitely a humbling lesson. It taught me a lot. It made me treat people way better and just appreciate everything that I have, and I wouldn't change it. Will I do it again? No, but I wouldn't change it.
I feel like those
So
are the
yeah,
best experiences in life. It's like, God, invaluable, made me the person I am today. Never want to do that again.
yeah, no. I mean, I loved it when I was there, but I'm glad that stage of my life is done. Well, also, working in bars. Then I was working my first brand ambassador role was with Caravedo Pisco,
Oh,
and
Mr. Schuler.
with Mr. Johnny Schuler. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a character, and I had
he's
tons
got a
of
deep voice too.
experiences. I love your voice. Yeah, like the Tom Waits we were talking about. Like
No,
it's
that's
great. Yeah.
I was doing Johnny Schuler. He's like
Oh,
the Pisco. He's got a
that's
deep
the
voice.
Pisco guy.
Yeah.
So it's funny because we went to La Hacienda right there in Caravedo, and one of my best experiences with him, he gets a very old Rolls Royce, and he just tells us, come with us, like a very old one, and that thing barely can run, and we go all over the town, and he's like a mayor over there. It's crazy the stuff that Johnny Schuler has done for the Pisco industry. But well, that's that. And then after that, I got the opportunity to work with other brands like Bacardi, which I had other mentors like the Master of Rum, David Sid, and also Juan Coronado, which I'm very thankful for him. Until I land a role with now probably my favorite job ever with Herradura Tequila, which I've been now for the past 3 years and 2 months.
That's amazing.
Congratulations. Yeah.
I'm glad that you landed with obviously with a brand that you really love, and it seems like you really love the position. It's been a constant brand in my life, even before I was a bartender. And I'll give you one little funny quip real quick. There's a place in Sausalito out here. It's called what is it? Copita. And it's an awesome little restaurant, and they make probably the best margarita in San Francisco. Sorry, Tommy's. But they reuse their Herradura bottles as water bottles, and sometimes the bartender will put a bottle up on the bar while they're making a drink and walk away, and you're like, you go to refill your water, and it's a full glass of tequila of Herradura. So I don't know if
That's
they
not
only
the worst thing.
I think they only do that for because we're regulars there and we know them. I think maybe sometimes they accidentally do that on purpose.
Oops. Yeah.
Oops. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, let's hear about Herradura because, we see it everywhere, which is great. But I want people to learn more about the product. So let's go, man.
Of course. So we're an heritage brand. We're one of the first and the OGs tequilas in the market. We've been doing things the right way and the most responsible way since 1870s. We're also responsible for the first reposado. And we've been in business again since 1870 in the Hacienda San Jose del Refugio. So very historical hacienda in the heart of Amatitan, Jalisco. Amatitan is a little town, probably 45 minutes away from Guadalajara. The terroir, the climate is beautiful and very proper to make a great tequila, right? So when you go in Casa Herradura, you find the hacienda, and it's very beautiful to see that there's people living in there, there's animals, it's a lot of greenery, and then you understand why Herradura is doing things the right way. So, for example, one of the things that I'm more proud of is our fermentation, which is completely airborne fermentation. We have a method called mamposteria, that's how we cook our agaves. And again, on top of that, the sustainable practices that we have are just incredible. Like, the gabazo, we reuse it for the lands. The heads and tails, also we do it for how you call it, for fuel for the distillery. And also we have a water treatment plant that saves water for close to, 200,000 people right there in Jalisco. So this is, in a nutshell, what Tequila Herradura is. Like you said, you see it everywhere, and we became that signature tequila that people think that we're huge, but not really. I will compare it. Let's say, and maybe this is crazy, but I will compare it to bitters, right? So for me, you have your main bitters, which is Angostura, right? And then you have your patience and your orange. Those are the core. We're part of the core. We might be the orange bitters, we might be the patience bitters, right? But yeah, that's the way that I see Herradura. So we created and we built the path for the other brands, and now, of course, there's tons of different brands that are also beautiful and amazing. But again, I was such a lucky person to land with a job that, again, is my dream job, and I cannot be more proud to represent Tequila Herradura.
Well, I definitely want to dig into the what's going on with Tequila Herradura right now, because you're right. You are one of the OG tequila brands that I think stands for good quality tequila. I still have friends who I've known from my teenage years who don't. I'm sure you're familiar with this. The people that don't drink tequila because they had a bad experience with it. And I think that this is because when you start off, at least in America, you don't start off drinking the good stuff. You start off drinking the cheapest shit you can find.
Correct.
And bad whiskey can only get so bad. Bad vodka can get pretty terrible, but then several layers down in sub basement 7 is how bad gin and bad tequila can get. But even those people who had one experience with a plastic bottle that said gold on the label at spring break one year, I can't do it anymore. Yeah, exactly. Gesundheit.
So okay, I
gotta
say this, Greg. Also, I think there's a certain age demographic that did that really heavily before there were premium tequilas and premium gins in the market. Would you agree with that a little bit? I mean, like there's part of it, but I mean, let's still be honest with ourselves. Still, the kids these days, am I right? You know, they'll still go for the cheapest shit that they can find, and then
who knows?
the
I
beat
think
goes on, you know.
The Zoomers are all like doing shrooms
It's
and
definitely
like
it's different. So
but
it's say
anyway,
kid
I
those
don't.
days.
Yeah,
Kids those
exactly.
days.
Kids back in
Those
our
days.
day
Those days.
when America meant something. Damn it.
Right.
But even those friends of mine that are like, I can't do tequila, they probably can name 2 or 3 brands on a liquor store shelf that are like, oh, that's the good stuff. And Herradura is one of them. Like, that's one brand that people know. It's like, oh, this is a good tequila. And you all recently did a whole brand refresh with your Blanco, which I imagine is kind of the workhorse of the brand. So I want to hear about that, but I also really wanted to ask you, we're on the show, like why, if you had a goose that was laying a golden egg like that, why change it up in such a big noticeable way? If it ain't broke, why fix it?
All right. This is, I'm going to break it out into 2 ways because first you ask, of course, we all have those bad experiences before, you know, when we're young. So
that wasn't really a question. That was just me talking about how far I've come to be the sophisticate I am today.
You brought good memories and bad memories. You know, we all have those. And, you know, the nostalgic element isn't there, you know. And again, you know, just drink responsibly and you won't have these things happening to you. But, well, going back to Herradura, right? So, yes, this is a new release, and I'm going to show you right now. This is the Herradura Blanco. As you said, it's a Blanco like the Squirrel bottle. Now we're calling the silver, and it's also a Blanco tequila. But contrary to, it's not that we fixed anything. It's not that we're bringing something new to the American market. But this is actually original tequila. This is the first tequila ever created at Casa Herradura. Now, in February, we brought it to the United States because we feel the people were asking for that, especially, you know, right now people have such a depth in knowledge of what tequila is, right? So I think the silver has its place and it's a heritage brand and is might be the most versatile tequila ever, especially if you want to drink by itself or with cocktails, is amazing. Now, the difference between this one, again, the first ever tequila Herradura created in Casa Herradura. We hear, man, we hear. So if somebody asks you for like an overproof, very green, very grassy tequila, this is what it's all about, you know. And we brought it back. So the difference between this one and the silver, this one is 46% of alcohol, and it's focused mostly in our terroir, and also the fermentation is key right there. So the best way to talk about tequila to me is drinking it. So I'm gonna pour myself a little something and then I can talk about it a little more. And I know that you guys maybe have also some, so please feel free to join me. But, you know, what I smell over here, and first of all, you know, I don't know if you can see it, and of course we're in the podcast, but the way that I describe this is completely clear. So it's a very clear product. And then in the legs, you have small legs. And then in the smell, I smell everything that is supposed to happen in the Matitan, Jalisco, in the lowlands. So you have the grassy notes right here. But the coolest part about this tequila, I think, is like a champagne. It smells like very yeasty. Because of the fermentation, this smells like a nice sourdough. So, you know, like this is something that I will have by itself. I enjoy, of course, you know, if you like tequila blancos and especially overproof, this is it. That's why we brought this to the market. And right now, this is our new child here in the States, and everybody that I shared this with is going to enjoy it, and they're going to tell me like, why you didn't bring it before? And I'm like, yeah, that's well, we listen, and it's here now, so let's enjoy it together, right? But that's what tequila Herradura Blanco is. Salud.
Salud.
You know, I think there's such a, like, for the agave nerds that I know, and I know quite a few of them.
I'm right here, Damon. I'm right here.
You know, there was, for the longest time in the United States, we talk about this quite a bit on the show, actually. So I hope I'm not sounding like a broken record. But, you know, with consumers, they were kind of like equating, you know, time is money, right? So like, you know, the more color, you know, reposados, añejos, extra añejos, like, oh, that's higher quality. But, you know, once you start getting into that, then you want to taste the OG. You know, you want to taste what went into the barrel. So you go back to the origin. It's kind of like why like White Dog whiskeys got so popular there for a little while. It's because it's like kind of marketing gimmicky, you know, whatever. But it was also kind of interesting for a lot of people who never get to taste what went into the whiskey barrel. So I think a lot of people, especially with Cristalino these days, people are getting more into like silver and Blanco tequilas, and I think that like you said, like the grassy, yeasty, like just tasting like the origin of it is really important for a lot of people, and especially if anyone's ever gotten to go down to Jalisco or Oaxaca, it's like it's in the air, like it's like full sensory experience, and it's something that like you get back to the States and you're like, I this tastes completely different to me now after having that experience. And also I like the new bottle because it fits in the well.
Again, man, this is the OG bottle. Even has the little balls inside. How you call it? The canicas.
Right.
That control the pour. So it's very excited for us to share something like this, man. Like again, I'm very, very happy that we have it out on the market.
Yeah, and I love it, and I loved that good, like what you were talking about, that sort of champagne, that clean funkiness that it has to it, but it still is very much obviously like a grassy tequila. And obviously, as I've outed myself as an agave nerd, I'm into all that stuff. But I am curious if someone, not me, just a layperson came up to you and was like, "Hey, man, I really loved the old Herradura. Like, why did you change it, and why did you feel like this is better?" Like, what would you say to them? Like, what would your kind of elevator explanation be?
Of course. I mean, it's not that we're replacing silver with Blanco. It's just we're bringing an addition to our family. That's it. So we're not changing what you already love. So if you're a fan of the silver, if you're a fan of the Reposado, let's say the Suprema, the Ultra, they're still there. We're not changing things. We're just adding more members to the family. That's all.
I love it. And this is kind of a back to basics thing for you all, right? If I'm remembering.
Absolutely.
You all invited me to the launch dinner. My recollections are a little fuzzy for some reason. Mm-hmm. But this was kind of an OG recipe that you all hadn't made in a minute, and now you're bringing it back. Am I remembering that right?
Yes and no. Again, it was released in the United States, but in Mexico, this has been there forever and ever. This is what you drink in Mexico. We are not changing the recipe. This is the same recipe since 1870. So again, it's just new to the States, but we're not changing anything. This is the same recipe.
Cool. Oh, that's pretty cool. Damon went off
I
camera for a second. I was worried you're having Wi-Fi issues, but no, he was just getting some tequila.
No, I couldn't let you drink alone.
Well, thank you for sharing with me. And,
as we say on the speakeasy, it's 9 a.m. somewhere, baby.
And don't worry, Greg. Also, I'll make sure that you have a bottle.
I do. I unwisely didn't travel with it, but I won't make that mistake again.
Or maybe I just send you a book because I know how much you guys love it.
I just had a little bit left of my. This is a Herradura silver that I happen to have at home, so I will look out for the Blanco. Which, man, okay, again, like when we talk about these brands, especially like I won't mention other names because we're talking about Herradura today, but. Like tapping into the U.S. market, a lot of them like really pushed their premium brands after it was basically like the mid-late 90s when it started really blowing up, right, in the U.S. Then you want to to me, like having the Pappy Van Winkles of the world, because like we're going to talk about some whiskeys just in comparison because I don't want to talk about other tequilas today, but we'll talk about whiskeys for, comparison. You have the Pappy Van Winkles and the Hirsch 16s and the old Willets and stuff like that. But then you go back to the old Overholts and the Rittenhouses, and you're like, this is like, all right, cool. And then you're like, Wild Turkey 101, fuck yeah. So it's like getting back to the roots, right? I feel that.
I love your analogy. I love your analogy. This is a tequila that is very welcoming to everybody, and the way that I will drink it is to just, the chaser, the sangrita, right? So the same way that you drink maybe an Irish whiskey with your pickle bag, this is the way that I would drink tequila Herradura Blanco, or in a cantarito as well. It's just great. It has given me so much more amplitude right here in New York market, especially because again, nowadays, since everybody is well informed and is more knowledgeable, which is more power to us, and I love it. Mm-hmm. So I need more tools and I need more tools to succeed in this market, and Herradura Blanco is giving it to me.
Well, you mentioned the Cantarito. So this is a cocktail with Herradura Blanco, agave nectar, every juice that you can find behind the bar. Basically, it's got grapefruit, orange, lemon, lime, and grapefruit soda. So it's kind of like an extra citrusy Paloma, I guess, of sorts, right? But
And
it's
salt.
it was
A
salt
lot of
with
salt.
tahin, yeah. Which I love that. And to me, it's almost like the Long Island iced tea of juice. But it sounds awesome. I haven't had one, but it sounds really great and refreshing. But in the description I have here, it says a half ounce of Herradura tequila Blanco. Is that a typo?
That probably is a typo. Like we understand that we're an overproof, but we definitely need at least an ounce and a half to
Yeah, I
two
was going to say
ounces,
it's got to be
of
okay.
this beautiful Blanco.
I was going to say
But
that's
yeah,
really progressive and low ABV of you, but I imagine it was going to be 1.5 ounces. What are
yeah.
some of the like? To me, this is really cool. And speaking of like low no ABV, that being a very popular thing that's happening right now. What are some other cocktail trends that you're seeing around, like especially New York City? You were just at BCB, and I think there's a lot of our listeners on the show want to know like what's going on, especially a lot of industry people listen to the show, but we do get a lot of like home enthusiasts that want to be part of it too. So anything that you're seeing out there, I mean, obviously
Um,
espresso martinis are still like at the top of like almost every menu right now.
Correct. So what I'm seeing that I'm really really liking is people taking maybe cocktails a little less serious, more in
Mhm.
a way that is like almost comical. So for example, yes, we still have our clarification carbonation cocktails, but then you have like a funny garnish. So you put a funny name on it. You make it more friendly instead of like uptight. I think that's the trend right now. Instead of like, there's always going to be cocktails. In New York, this is the beautiful thing. You have from bars that are very traditional to bars that are like avant-garde, but I think the trend right now is to make these cocktails more fun for people instead of like, hey, you're in a serious cocktail bar and you have to behave a certain way. Now it's like, let's make people have fun, and let's just do fun things with it instead of like being all serious. That's I think is the biggest trend.
How
Yeah,
do
and
you
I think
sort of see that manifesting? I'm very curious because I feel like we had an attempt at that, let's call it in like 2017, where you had a number of bars that were like, we're serious, but our bartenders wear aloha shirts. And it was kind of like the same thing, but with just like sort of a layer of flower wallpaper over it. But now I feel like people are really taking that further. I'm seeing a lot of like high low, like high dive concepts out there, which is catnip to me. But obviously, I'm only one small percentage of the human population. What are you seeing that's out there that people are doing to appeal to this kind of, hey, we still are craftspeople, we're just not dicks about it?
Exactly. For example, if you go to a holiday cocktail lounge, like they
mhm.
do a very good job with that. It's like, hey, they put like a little dummy on top of the drink, or they put like something fluorescent, or look at Bar Snack what they're doing as well. So it's very non-pretentious bars that are making things very fun. And the quality of ingredients, instead of putting the bartender the tiki shirt, is not necessarily tiki in the cocktail, but you're making it more visual and more appealing to the regular, not only trade but consumers, which they love that.
Right. I have to say, there was a time where like you were at Flatiron Lounge, I was at Prairie Meats, and like we were all doing the vests and the ties and everything. We had to
Yep.
though, man.
Yep.
We had to let people understand like this was a serious craft, and we had to do that for a while, long enough to people started realizing like, oh, this is something I should respect, and like maybe I don't go in and order a round of blowjob shots or whatever, But it took us trailblazing that way, and then finally we could relax. I love going to
We're
a
back,
cocktail
baby.
bar.
Blowjob
I
shots
know
for everyone. Let's go.
exactly. So like, like I went into Death and Company last. I guess it was Friday night. It was our last night there. No, it would have been Thursday night. Yeah, we went
What
to
is
Amoria
time?
Margo. Yeah, exactly. We went to Amoria Margo and kind of saw what was going on over there, and then just pop it over to Death and Company. And like, I was like, huh. I remember when I was here briefly. I was wearing a vest and tie. That was a long time ago. and like
I remember those days. And
they were
now, yeah,
wearing
you wear a T-shirt, or like even like you're wearing right now, Greg, something like that, and you can bartend with that. And to me, that's great. That's beautiful.
yeah, they were wearing like
And
short sleeve button downs, with no
yep.
tie and like open collar. Like it was really casual behind the bar, and I was like, okay, cool. It's come for Death and Company to be that casual is pretty cool. I mean, I remember when I worked at Extra Fancy, that was kind of like those things where we'd wear tank tops but we were making cocktails and high volume and
But that was the concept, and that's why Extra Fancy was such a big success back in the day, right?
yeah,
And another thing you were asking about trends, I love the fact that, and this is not against any people, but I think we're more diverse behind the bar. So you
totally.
see the bar backs that were 10 years ago, now they're taking care of big establishments. It can be as a general manager, it can be as a head bartender. They can own their own stuff, So one of the ethos that I have is to, and this is gonna sound like everybody tells you that, but to help my community, especially the Ecuadorian community, to me is very important. People might not know, but you mentioned Delanco, right? So we know Joaquin Simo, right?
Hmm.
He's one of the biggest Ecuadorian bartenders out there, and most people don't know that he's Ecuadorian. So when I mention, okay, the Naked and Famous cocktail and what Joaquin Simo has done for the Ecuadorian community is great, and not only him, but there's a bunch of people that are out there. I can name a bunch of them, and I'm so proud of them, and it makes my heart very happy that we're all thriving, which 10 years ago it was very difficult for us to thrive in the bar. So that trend to me is also beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you like totally nail it because like the last few times I've been to my bar at Grand Army, it's like it's just like everyone it's like I could just take a picture and it'd be like this is like the coolest, most diverse crowd, and like like the staff, the people there, and it's just like everyone has a smile on their face, and they're having fun, and like it's so awesome. And I'm not just talking about my bar. It's like I see that everywhere, and that
Yeah.
you're right. In New York, it's like really, it's a beautiful, beautiful time. And I say that every time, but what a great time to be in the bar industry,
Correct.
There's we can't, we mentioned it, you know, the salsa dancing. We got to talk about that just quickly.
We can't. Yeah, we can't not
talk
wrap
about
without
that.
talking about the salsa dancing.
So again, we're going back to
Speaking of
think
having
about
fun,
yeah, think about like the one of the most fun places to be at right now, Super Bueno, right?
Mhm.
You have Nacho right there, and you have also Neil and Armando, and the music is salsa dancing, and not only salsa dancing but cumbia, and it just it doesn't matter who you are, you're gonna start, your body's just gonna start moving by itself. You're gonna get together with everybody, and music is something as cocktails and as a food that unite people, and when those three things are mixed together, it's just a lot of fun, man. Like and but the salsa dancing is important not because of the techniques that you're using, is because the interactions that you're having with people. The moment that you touch someone, the moment that you dance with someone, it's the same feeling that I have when somebody's tasting my cocktails or when I'm cheering with Herradura tequila. It's something that unites us. It's something that becomes more personal to us, and those memories are the ones that you're gonna remember later on. So that's why, to me, music and salsa dancing is important in this industry.
yeah, man, yeah. I mean, music to me has always been. I'm a musician, but like, it's always been important to me for. I think in a bar, like I always say that a bar is only as good as the people who are in it, and that's true. You could have you could spend the most money ever on a bar, a restaurant, and if you attract a shitty crowd, it's gonna suck. It's gonna flop. But that's where you got to make it like fun. And like there's beyond the people. I think there's two other elements. Lighting is one. You have
Right.
really good lighting, and that could be natural lighting. You could be like, it's got to be right.
Mm-hmm.
Keith McNally's really good at lighting. Like I mentioned Balthazar before, Pastis, all those places, Odeon, like just killer, killer lighting in all those places. But music, it's what drives us. I mean, like I get all my all my inspiration for every cocktail almost ever that I've ever made is from a song or a lyric or an album or an artist, or just an experience I had with music. So I think it goes through. I think with food too, it's the same. Like I love food, and like you know, I think that like the perfect pairing of a drink with a food, and I'm not one of those people who will switch from cocktails to wine during dinner. Like if you can nail it with like the right cocktail to go with food, and I think nowadays I think it's more common, right, for people to like bartenders to think more about like food pairings with cocktails and like through the experience of the meal, right? But I think the music along with it, and it's like there's a whole art to it, and I think a lot of people are just really nailing it these days, really
Yeah, so
considering
many
it.
so many good places, and you don't even need to mention like the big ones, like one of the bar that I love, well, Alma Negra in Brooklyn. I don't know if you've been there. Like,
Hmm.
they do amazing things, and also, instead of salsa is the cumbia, and then you go to Diego at the cabinet, and instead of salsa and cumbia, they put Spanish rock, and it's the same thing, like you have a different vibe, and you're like, it's still music that gets us together as a musician, like I used to play back in the day. I was a very mediocre musician, but still music means a lot to me.
Man, yeah, of course. It's I think all of the above: people, food,
Yeah.
cocktails, music.
It also doesn't surprise me that you used to be a musician back in the day. I mean, that's just like, of course you
Yeah,
did.
of course.
Based on everything else you've done, all the other lives you've lived, that totally fits.
Oh yeah, I had when I used to have beautiful hair like Damon. It's when I did my, I was in a Spanish rock band and also in a grunge band. It was great. I remember those days back in the Burger King days is when that happened.
Nice. It all goes back.
Hmm.
So I want to talk about I want to kind of get back to the Blanco. I mean, like, have you like what's going on with? I mean, like, are you actively kind of promoting that, or is it kind of moving itself just based on your existing uh, patrons and fans? Like, I feel like a lot of people have like, my friend George, who yesterday or no 2 days ago was his birthday. I meet up with him pretty much every Tuesday for lunch, and he only drinks Herradura Añejo neat
I love it.
for lunch, and he'll have like 5 of them and an iced tea on the side. But that's all he drinks, and he only drinks at lunch when he comes to hang out with me.
I should hang out with this guy.
He
Please
doesn't
introduce me to him.
he doesn't hang out. He doesn't drink at home. He's a big pothead. But he doesn't go out for at night a lot. He goes out for lunch, and which I think to me is the most important meal of the day, and it's the best time to drink anyway. I would rather day
Absolutely.
drink
Okay.
anyway.
Well,
Yeah,
talking back with Herradura, you were asking me if
yeah,
it's important, the importance of me versus if it's moving by itself. I think it's both things. Of course, the role of an ambassador or the role of a face of a brand is to develop these relationships that are natural and organic to make at
right.
the end of the day volume or sales or relationships, right?
Hmm.
But one of the coolest things that I have right now, for example, in between bar. I don't know if you've heard about it here in New York. It's
Hmm.
a vinyl place in Chelsea Market.
Hmm.
They did something extremely cool with Tequila Herradura. They also collaborated with Hat Ones, and they created a cocktail
Right.
with Hat Ones and Herradura Blanco. So it was spicy, it was savory. It's how you call it, a clarified cocktail with that gets all of these flavors that make sense for the food or for just a person having something cool. So again, it's spicy, it's gonna be smoky, it's very grassy, it's called the Thai mango salad. So you can imagine that. I was
Yeah.
there with my boss recently, and and he asked me like, aren't we on the menu here? And I'm like, yes, look at it. And he saw the Thai mango salad, and he's like, oh, I thought that was food. I'm like, bro, like, just read a little more and you'll realize that, there's more drinks in this place. So just drink it, So that's one of the coolest things that people are doing right now with Herradura Blanco, to name one. But, like, people also want to have it back in the well because, if you want, of course, a tequila connoisseur, you want more options than the regular options right now, which I love that we have competition. I love that we have more brands to compare us to, and I love the fact that Herradura Blanco itself is excelling actually making a big impact in the New York market, at least. And of course, I'm sure in the United States as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted to get back to something that you mentioned earlier about this, which is that it's overproof. What was the thought process behind that, and how is that kind of being received?
Well, we had before we had our Directo de Alambique, which was a 55%, and people liked it, but that happened maybe like 10 years ago, and people weren't ready. Now the trend is an overproof tequila because you can actually taste more of the notes that the producer or the maker is trying to come across, right? So every time that people drink tequila Herradura Blanco with 46% of alcohol, 92 proof, then you find all of the notes that I mentioned before that are very traditional from Amatitan, Jalisco.
Yeah. And it's so wild. It seems to me like the through line from this whole conversation has been like, because you mentioned this is something that like you tried earlier, it wasn't quite the right time, and now feels like the right time for it. I was reminded as we were talking about, the fact that bartenders at Death and Company are allowed to have 2 whole buttons on their shirt open these days. I remember I had a conversation with Tom Richter in I think 2016, where he was talking about like his ideal bar. And it's basically, Damon, the bar that we were joking about a few years ago on the show, where it's like a super like, traditional, darkly lit speakeasy. And then the speakeasy behind that is actually just a sports bar where you can get hot dogs and like Miller Lite and still get good cocktails. It has like a pool table that like,
It's
maybe
the reverse.
slanted to one side. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, it looks like a speakeasy when you walk in, and then the back speakeasy is actually what should have been in the front. Like it should have been a sports bar with a speakeasy in the back, but it's reverse. Yeah.
I'm calling it right now. I think this is a thing we're going to joke about right up until we sign the lease for this place. Like,
oh, dude. Yeah. There's a huge bowling alley here in Marin that's for sale, and it's sweet. It's called Country Club Bowl or Country Club Lanes. And it's big enough to, I mean, we could just have you walk into a speakeasy, this giant building, and then all of a sudden it's like, secret password. It's like, what size shoe do you wear? And you can go bowl.
The secret password is size 12. That's the password.
Yeah.
Don't tell people about these. Don't tell too many people. And if you do, please have us in the well with Herradura.
Well, this is how we find our investors.
And how we find out who the real fans are. True.
Oh man.
Well, hey. Well, people know that they can keep up with Damon and I's ill-advised business decisions by listening to the show. But if people want to follow along with what you're doing these days, Marcelo, and what's coming next for Herradura, where can they find you?
Of course, I'm very approachable. Of course, you can follow me in Instagram. My hashtag is Boozy Soldier. And I'll be around in the New York market. Please reach out with any questions. If you just want to go hang out, you want to try the best bars in New York and have some Herradura with me, I'll be happy to host you.
I mean, I'm overdue some visits to some places for my agave nectar. So yeah, let's do a little bar crawl one of these days, man. Let's
I would love that. Let me know, and I'll plan it out, and we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll be back in New York probably in another month or so. So let's plan all that together. And also,
and then Tales of the Cocktail. Then Tales of the Cocktail. I'm sure we'll be there. We'll have a big activation over there, and I'll share some of the Herradura love over there too.
Yeah, and we'll lose our voices again for that. But before we leave, though, Marcelo, I want to say thank you for your service, both in the military and behind the bar, and as a brand ambassador. So
I appreciate that again.
A very multifaceted dude.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure and an honor to be here. This has been great. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you, man. And that's going to do it for us this week on the Speakeasy. Before we wrap up, though, I do want to say that I just want to acknowledge that the ice raids that have been in the news while we were on spring break and then recording our 600th episode are still happening, sadly, and they are going to be targeting blue cities. I know this not because I am, reading the tea leaves or reading the signs, because the president of the United States specifically said he's going to be targeting places like New York City and Chicago and Los Angeles. I didn't really want to talk about it at the top of the show because I try not to say anything political unless I have a new take or something funny to say. There's nothing I can say about this. This hasn't been said a million times by people who are more qualified actual journalists. And there's nothing really funny about it. But I did want to note that we are going to post some resources in the show notes for this episode for anyone who is looking for legal ways that you can stand up for yourself and your staff and your establishment if you happen to run into this particular government organization. And just to say, it sucks, and hang in there. And we're sending love to everyone who's been affected, and be safe to everyone else. And with that is going to really do it for us this week on the Speakeasy. But if you want more of Damon and Souther and myself, as always, you can find this great program on YouTube. We're at youtube.com/@speakeasy.podcast. And if finding us on YouTube and seeing what we actually look like isn't enough to slake your insatiable thirst for the three of us, you can become a regular on our Patreon. That's going to give you lots of exciting perks like sponsor-free listening, cocktail recipes from all of our guests, and a free cocktail kit every month from our friends at Shaker and Spoon. And speaking of our friends at Shaker and Spoon, we all, the three of us, Damon, Souther, and me, we have some exciting news. Our second Speakeasy cocktail box is coming out next month, featuring one signature recipe apiece from the three of us. Mine is called Whoops All Berries, which is fitting because later this year is actually the 30-year anniversary of the horrific all-berry accident, which, as we all remember, took place on July 16th, 1995. Early in the morning, a faulty gasket on a berry containment tank failed, killing 19 employees and injuring dozens more. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of boxes of cereal were nothing but berries for years afterwards, and cleanup efforts sadly continue to this day. All proceeds from the sales of these boxes will be going to the families. So if you want to be a part of this important cause, go to shakerandspoon.com. We'll also have a link in the show notes. And, never forget. And be sure to tune in next week when our guest is Steve Jackson of Society de la Rossi, which makes premium non-alcoholic wines. I'm actually really excited about this because this is a field that I don't know a ton about. So I'm curious what the premium non-alc market looks like these days. We're going to talk about how that works. But for now, until next time, cheers, everybody.
Salute.
So you don't charm the devil with your rock and roll, Lord knows that country music's gonna save your soul. The